Maybe if you were more like your sister. My mother sighed, beaming about Sarah's new job as a Walmart regional manager, while I served the Thanksgiving dinner I had prepared alone for 20 people. She continued praising how perfect Sarah was for 3 straight hours, showing pictures of her new apartment in Seattle to every single relative who would listen, while I refilled wine glasses and cleared plates nobody thanked me for. The turkey was perfect, golden brown with crispy skin that crackled when carved. The mashed potatoes were whipped to silky perfection with roasted garlic and cream. My homemade cranberry sauce with orange zest and cinnamon sat untouched, while everyone reached for the canned stuff Sarah had brought as her contribution. I had spent 48 hours preparing this meal, waking at 4 in the morning to brine the turkey, hand-rolling pie dough, roasting vegetables. My feet ached in my kitchen clogs, grease stained my shirt, my hair frizzed from hours over the stove. Sarah sat at the head of the table in a designer blazer that probably cost more than my monthly rent, her blonde hair perfectly styled, manicured nails wrapped around a wine glass she never refilled herself. She had arrived an hour late, bringing only that canned cranberry sauce and a store-bought pumpkin pie still in its plastic container. Yet my mother acted as if she had personally catered the entire event. "Sarah just got promoted again," Mom announced to my Aunt Linda, her voice carrying across the dining room. "Director of Regional Operations now. Can you believe it? Only 32 and already making 6 figures. They gave her a company car, a Tesla Model S. I set down a gravy boat with more force than intended. Some liquid sloshed onto the tablecloth. My mother shot me a look of pure irritation before turning back to her audience, not missing a beat in her worship service dedicated to my sister. "Emily, honey, could you bring out more rolls?" my cousin Jennifer asked, at least having the decency to look apologetic. I nodded, retreating to the kitchen for the 3rd time in 20 minutes. Through the doorway, I heard my mother's voice continuing its familiar refrain about Sarah's accomplishments, her important meetings, her business trips to corporate headquarters. When I returned with warm rolls, my Uncle Frank was asking Sarah about her work. "So what exactly does a director of regional operations do at Walmart?" he asked, genuinely curious. I watched Sarah's face carefully as she launched into an explanation filled with corporate buzzwords that sounded impressive but said absolutely nothing concrete. "Synergizing vertical integration across multiple distribution touchpoints," she said smoothly. "Optimizing supply chain paradigms while maintaining stakeholder engagement metrics." My uncle nodded like this made perfect sense. My mother glowed with pride. I stood there holding a basket of rolls, and something clicked in my mind. I had worked in restaurants for 10 years, starting as a dishwasher and working my way up to sous chef at a respected Portland bistro. I knew what real management talk sounded like. This was not it. "That sounds fascinating," I said, my voice neutral. "Which distribution center do you oversee?" Sarah's eyes flickered toward me for just a second, a flash of something I could not quite read. "I'm actually more corporate-facing now," she said quickly. "Working directly with the C-suite on strategic initiatives rather than day-to-day operations at specific locations." "Of course she is," my mother interjected proudly. "Sarah's always been destined for executive leadership. Even as a child, she was organizing the other kids, making plans, thinking strategically." I smiled and nodded, returning to the kitchen with the now empty roll basket. But as I stood at the sink, washing dishes that no one else would touch, I pulled out my phone and did something I should have done months ago when Sarah first announced this miraculous job. I searched for her name in Walmart's corporate directory, which was publicly available on their website. Nothing. I searched for Sarah Carter in LinkedIn, filtering for Walmart employees. Nothing. I tried variations. S. Carter, Sarah M. Carter, Sarah Carter Portland, Sarah Carter Seattle. Still nothing. My hands stilled in the soapy water. I searched for Walmart's Director of Regional Operations positions, looking at the org chart. All positions were filled by people whose names I could verify through multiple sources. Professional profiles with years of documented history, photos at company events, press releases. Sarah was not among them. Through the doorway, I heard my mother's voice reaching a crescendo. "And they are sending her to Bentonville next month, to Walmart headquarters. Can you imagine? My daughter, walking those halls where Sam Walton himself once walked." I dried my hands slowly, deliberately. My phone felt heavy in my grip, weighted with a truth that was beginning to crystallize. I thought about the Tesla Sarah supposedly drove, which I had never actually seen, the expensive clothes she wore, the Seattle apartment Mom bragged about but had only seen in photos Sarah texted, the convenient excuses for why family could not visit her there, always work-related, always last minute. "Emily," my mother's voice cut through my thoughts. "We are ready for dessert." I picked up the pumpkin pie I had made from scratch, with real pumpkins I had roasted and pureed myself, spiced with fresh ground nutmeg and cinnamon, nestled in a butter crust that had taken 3 attempts to perfect. Next to it sat Sarah's store-bought pie in its plastic container, the barcode still visible. As I walked back into the dining room, carrying my pie while my mother immediately reached for Sarah's inferior store-bought version, something hardened inside my chest. It was not anger exactly, not yet. It was clarity. Cold, crystalline clarity. I served dessert with a smile, listening to my mother compare me unfavorably to Sarah for what felt like the 100th time that evening. But now I was listening differently, cataloging every claim, every supposed achievement, every detail that did not quite add up. "You know what your problem is, Emily?" my mother said as I collected dessert plates an hour later, her wine glass empty for the 4th time. "You never applied yourself. You settled for cooking in some little restaurant instead of pursuing a real career like your sister. You could have been something." I looked at Sarah across the table. She met my eyes, and for just a moment I saw it. Fear. Quick and unmistakable. There and gone like a candle flame in wind. "You are absolutely right, Mom," I said quietly, stacking plates with practiced efficiency. "I should definitely be more like Sarah." As the family finally began to leave around 9, full and content with food I had prepared, my mother pulled Sarah aside for a private conversation in the living room. I loaded the dishwasher, but I could hear every word through the thin walls of the house I had grown up in. "I am so proud of you, sweetheart," Mom said, her voice thick with emotion and wine. "You have exceeded every expectation. You are everything I hoped you would be." I closed the dishwasher door with a soft click and stood in the dim kitchen, surrounded by the debris of a meal no one had thanked me for, holding a secret that was going to change everything. Sarah's Tesla was a lie. Her job was a lie. And I was going to prove it. The Monday after Thanksgiving, I started digging. Not frantically, not obviously. I was methodical, the same way I approached breaking down a whole fish or perfecting a reduction sauce. Every detail mattered. I created a fake LinkedIn profile under the name Jessica Martin, listing myself as a recruiting coordinator for a hospitality staffing firm. It took 3 days to make it look legitimate, adding connections, joining industry groups, posting generic professional content. Then I sent Sarah a connection request with a message about an exciting executive opportunity in Seattle. She accepted within an hour. Her profile was impressive at first glance. Director of Regional Operations at Walmart based in Seattle. But when I clicked through her experience section, the details were vague. No specific projects, no measurable achievements, just more of those empty corporate phrases she had used at Thanksgiving. Her connections told a different story. 217 people. But I recognized most of them. High school friends, college acquaintances, family, not a single Walmart employee among them. I spent my lunch breaks at the restaurant researching, my phone hidden under the prep counter while I prepped vegetables. I called Walmart's corporate offices in Bentonville, claiming to be verifying employment for a rental application. They had no record of Sarah Carter in any management position. I tried their Seattle regional office. Same result. "You have been distracted all week," my chef de cuisine Antonio said on Thursday, watching me dice onions with less precision than usual. "What is going on?" Antonio had been my mentor for 5 years, teaching me everything from knife skills to kitchen politics. He was 62, had worked in restaurants since he was 14, and could read people better than any therapist. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, his weathered hands continuing to portion pasta dough while I talked. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Your sister is running a scam," he said finally. "The question is what kind and who is paying for it." That had not occurred to me. I had been so focused on proving the lie that I had not thought about the logistics. The apartment in Seattle, the designer clothes, the lifestyle she was posting on Instagram. That money was coming from somewhere. "You need to find out who she is actually working for," Antonio continued. "Or what she is actually doing. People do not maintain expensive lives without a revenue stream." That night, I drove to Seattle. 250 miles, 4 hours in my aging Honda Civic, with 173,000 miles on the odometer. I had Sarah's address from a Christmas card she had sent Mom last year, back when she was still pretending to care about maintaining family connections beyond holiday performances. The building was in Capitol Hill, a trendy neighborhood with coffee shops and boutiques. Upscale, but not extravagant. I parked across the street and waited, drinking cold coffee from a thermos, watching the entrance. Sarah emerged at 8:15 the next morning, dressed in business casual, carrying a leather tote bag. But she did not get into a Tesla. She walked 3 blocks to a bus stop and took public transportation downtown. I followed in my car, staying several vehicles back, feeling ridiculous and determined in equal measure. The bus dropped her off in the financial district. She entered an office building, not a Walmart, and I watched through the glass doors as she checked in at a security desk, receiving a visitor badge. A visitor badge, not an employee badge. I waited in a nearby coffee shop for 6 hours, ordering a single latte and refilling my water glass until the barista started giving me looks. Sarah emerged at 3:30, the visitor badge returned, and took the bus back toward her apartment. This time, I did not follow. Instead, I went into the building and approached the security desk. "Hi, I am supposed to meet with Sarah Carter tomorrow," I said, smiling apologetically, "but I completely forgot which company she works for. Could you help me out?" The security guard was young, bored, helpful. He checked his computer. "Carter, Sarah. She has been temping with Cascade Financial Services on the 8th floor. You want me to call up there?" "No, that is okay," I said quickly. "I just needed to confirm. Thank you so much." Temping. Not a director, not a manager. A temporary office worker at a financial services firm. I sat in my car in the parking garage, hands shaking on the steering wheel, assembling the pieces. Sarah was working a temp job, probably making $15 or $16 an hour. She was living in Seattle, maintaining an expensive facade, and telling our entire family she was a Walmart executive making 6 figures. But why? And more importantly, how was she paying for any of it? I pulled out my phone and opened Instagram, scrolling through Sarah's carefully curated feed. Designer handbags, restaurant meals at expensive establishments, cocktails at rooftop bars. Every post was geotagged Seattle. Every caption hinted at her successful career. The comments from our relatives gushed with pride and admiration. Then I noticed something. In a post from 2 weeks ago, a photo of Sarah at a wine bar, there was a man's hand visible at the edge of the frame, holding a glass. The watch on his wrist was a Rolex, unmistakable even in the background of the shot. I zoomed in, screenshot the image, and started reverse image searching every photo on her feed, looking for more clues about who she was actually spending time with. 3 hours later, I had a name. Preston Whitmore, 61 years old, CEO of a commercial real estate development company. Married with 3 adult children. His wife's Instagram showed a very different life, one where her husband was definitely not having wine with young blonde women in Seattle bars. Sarah was not a successful executive. She was a temp worker being financially supported by a married man old enough to be her father, lying to our entire family about her achievements, and letting our mother humiliate me at every family gathering while she played pretend. I drove back to Portland at midnight, my mind racing faster than my car on the empty highway. Antonia was right. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with before I decided how to handle it. But as I crossed the Columbia River, the lights of Portland spreading before me, I already knew one thing with absolute certainty. Sarah's carefully constructed house of lies was going to collapse, and I was going to be the one to demolish it. Brick by brick, in front of everyone who had ever compared me unfavorably to her perfect facade. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Sarah just told me she is getting another promotion. VP of Pacific Northwest Operations, dinner next month to celebrate?" I smiled in the darkness of my car and typed back, "Would not miss it for the world." I spent the next 4 months becoming someone I barely recognized, patient, calculating, and completely focused on a single goal. Every spare moment went into research, planning, and building a case so airtight that Sarah would have no escape route when I finally sprung the trap. Antonio noticed the change immediately. "You are thinking like a chef now," he said one morning, watching me organize my evidence files with the same precision I used for mise en place. Everything in its place. Every ingredient prepared, ready to execute the dish perfectly. He was right. This was not revenge born of anger anymore. It was a carefully constructed recipe, and I was going to serve it at exactly the right temperature. I started with Preston Whitmore. His company, Whitmore Development Group, was publicly traded, which meant I had access to financial records, shareholder reports, executive compensation data. I spent evenings at the library teaching myself to read corporate filings, tracing money trails, understanding how his wealth was structured. His wife, Catherine Whitmore, was a different kind of research subject. Her Instagram showed a woman who valued family, tradition, and public image above all else. She chaired charity galas, served on hospital boards, and posted frequently about her 3 children and 5 grandchildren. The Whitmores had been married for 37 years. A fact mentioned in every Society page article I could find. Sarah was a grenade in the middle of their carefully maintained life, and she did not even realize how much leverage that gave me. I created a second fake profile, this time on a dating app, using photos of a friend who had moved to New York and would not care about my scheme. Within a week, I had matched with one of Preston's employees, a junior analyst named Kyle, who loved talking about his important job at Whitmore Development. 3 coffee dates later, Kyle was telling me everything: how Preston had been distracted for months, taking personal calls during meetings, leaving the office for unexplained afternoon absences, how the executive assistant had been instructed to book a corporate apartment in Capitol Hill, supposedly for visiting clients, but everyone knew it was never used for business purposes. "Between you and me," Kyle said, leaning in conspiratorially during our 4th meeting, "there is definitely another woman, some blonde he met at a temp agency when we were hiring for the front desk. She did not get the job, but apparently she got something better." I smiled and nodded and took mental notes of every word. Meanwhile, I was building my proof. I hired a private investigator, using money I had been saving for a new car, $3,000 for 2 weeks of surveillance photography and a detailed report. It was worth every penny. The photographs were damning. Sarah and Preston having lunch at expensive restaurants. Sarah entering the Capitol Hill apartment building with grocery bags. Preston's Mercedes parked outside Sarah's building overnight. Most importantly, Preston handing Sarah envelopes at a coffee shop. Envelopes I knew contained cash based on how quickly she tucked them into her purse. But I needed more than an affair. I needed to prove the depth of Sarah's deception to my family in a way they could not dismiss or rationalize. I spent weekends creating a comprehensive timeline, matching Sarah's Instagram posts against her temp work schedule, which I obtained through a contact who worked in HR at the staffing agency. Every business trip she claimed, temp work at different companies, every promotion she announced, completely fabricated. Every photo of her supposed Tesla, stock images downloaded from car websites, geotagged to Seattle. My mother called weekly with updates about Sarah's meteoric rise at Walmart. Each call made my resolve harder, sharper. "They are sending her to Tokyo next quarter," Mom announced in March. Some huge international expansion project. My daughter, representing Walmart in Asia. "That is incredible," I said, typing notes. "You must be so proud." In April, my mother organized the celebration dinner she had mentioned. "Sarah's VP promotion deserves something special," she said. "I am thinking we should have it at that nice Italian place downtown. White tablecloths, wine pairings, the works." "Why don't we have it at Marcello's?" I suggested. Marcello's was the restaurant where I worked, where Antonio was chef de cuisine, where I had spent 5 years building relationships with everyone from the owner to the dishwashers. "Oh, honey, I do not know," Mom said doubtfully. "Is that place nice enough for such an important occasion?" I swallowed my pride. "It is actually one of Portland's highest-rated Italian restaurants. James Beard nominated chef. I could probably get us a private room." "Well, if you think it is appropriate," she said, still skeptical. "Though honestly, Emily, I wish you aimed higher with your career choices. You could have been the one we were celebrating." I smiled at my reflection in the kitchen window. "Do not worry, Mom. I think this dinner is going to be very memorable for everyone." Antonio agreed immediately when I explained what I needed. "I have been waiting for you to use your home field advantage," he said. "What are you thinking?" "I am thinking we invite the whole family," I said. "Everyone who is at Thanksgiving. I want them all there when Sarah's world collapses." We set the date for the first Saturday in May, exactly 6 months after the Thanksgiving that had started everything. I spent the week before the dinner finalizing every detail. I created a presentation, professionally designed, with documentation organized by category: employment fraud, financial deception, family manipulation. I included screenshots, photographs, corporate records, sworn statements from the private investigator. I contacted Catherine Whitmore's personal assistant, sending an anonymous email with just enough information to intrigue but not alarm. "Mrs. Whitmore should know that her husband has been supporting a young woman in Capitol Hill. Details and documentation available upon request." She requested them within an hour. I sent everything. The night before the dinner, I could not sleep. I lay in my small apartment, staring at the ceiling, mentally rehearsing every step. Antonio's voice echoed in my head. "In the kitchen, timing is everything. Too early and the dish is cold. Too late and it is ruined. You have to trust your instincts and execute perfectly." Saturday arrived clear and bright. I got to Marcello's at noon, 6 hours before the dinner reservation. Antonio had arranged for me to have complete control of the private dining room. I set up a laptop and projector, tested the presentation 3 times, arranged for specific wines I knew my mother loved. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Can't wait for tonight. Mom is so extra about this promotion thing, lol." I stared at the message for a long moment, then replied, "It is going to be a night no one forgets." The family started arriving at 6. My mother came first, dressed in her best outfit, beaming with anticipatory pride. My Aunt Linda, Uncle Frank, Cousin Jennifer, and 15 other relatives filled the private room, all there to celebrate Sarah's latest fictional achievement. Sarah arrived last, making an entrance in a dress that probably cost $2,000 of Preston's money. She hugged our mother, accepted congratulations from everyone, played her role perfectly. I served appetizers I had prepared myself, moving through the room with practiced grace, watching Sarah bask in admiration she had not earned. My hands were steady as I poured wine. My smile never faltered. At 7:30, after the main course, my mother stood to make a toast. "I want to say how proud I am of my daughter Sarah," she began, her voice carrying across the room. "She has achieved so much at such a young age. Vice President of Pacific Northwest Operations at only 32 years old." Everyone applauded. Sarah stood, graciously accepting the praise. "Actually, Mom," I said, my voice cutting through the applause, "I have a special presentation I put together for tonight, a tribute to Sarah's remarkable success story." I moved to the laptop before anyone could object. The lights dimmed. The first slide appeared on the wall, a professional title card reading, "The Truth About Sarah Carter's Career." My mother's smile froze. Sarah's face went white. "Let us start," I said pleasantly, "with Sarah's actual job." The first slide showed Sarah's actual employment records, obtained legally through public records requests and the staffing agency. Temporary office assistant, Cascade Financial Services, $16 per hour, no benefits. Current assignment ends next month. My Uncle Frank leaned forward, squinting at the screen. "What is this, Emily?" "This is the truth," I said calmly, clicking to the next slide. While Sarah has been telling everyone she is a Walmart executive, she has actually been working temp jobs in Seattle. Here are her tax returns, which show a gross income last year of $31,000, not the 6-figure salary she claimed. "This is ridiculous," Sarah said, her voice shrill. "Mom, make her stop this." But my mother was staring at the screen, her champagne glass forgotten in her hand. I clicked through the presentation methodically. Screenshots of Sarah's LinkedIn profile next to Walmart's actual organizational chart, showing no Sarah Carter in any management position. Phone records from my calls to Walmart's HR department, with their written confirmation that no such employee existed. Time-stamped photographs showing Sarah entering buildings that were not Walmart offices, wearing visitor badges instead of employee identification. "Stop," Sarah demanded, standing. "This is insane. You are jealous and you are making things up." "Am I?" I clicked to the next section. "Let us talk about your Tesla, Sarah. The company car you supposedly received with your promotion." The screen filled with side-by-side comparisons. Stock photos from car websites next to Sarah's Instagram posts, identical down to the background parking lot. "You have never owned a Tesla. You have been posting stolen images and pretending they are yours." My cousin Jennifer gasped. My Aunt Linda looked between Sarah and my mother, confusion evident on her face. "And your apartment," I continued, pulling up rental records I had obtained through connections in the Seattle property management industry. "You pay $2,300 per month for a 1-bedroom in Capitol Hill, on a temp worker's salary of approximately $2,600 per month after taxes." Which raises an obvious question. Where is the money coming from? Sarah's face had progressed from white to red to a grayish pallor. "You had no right to invade my privacy like this." "Privacy?" I smiled without warmth. "You have been lying to our entire family for over a year, letting Mom humiliate me at every gathering, accepting praise for achievements that do not exist. I think everyone here has a right to know the truth." I clicked to the next slide, and Preston Whitmore's face filled the screen. Meet Preston Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Development Group. 61 years old, married to Catherine Whitmore for 37 years. He met Sarah at a temp agency last year when his company was hiring. She did not get the job, but she got something else, a sugar daddy. The room erupted. Multiple relatives started talking at once. My mother made a strangled sound. "These photographs," I said, clicking through the surveillance images, Show Sarah and Preston together over the past 6 months. Restaurants, coffee shops, her apartment building. Here is Preston handing her cash payments, probably to supplement her income and maintain the lifestyle she has been advertising on social media. Sarah lunged for the laptop, but Antonio materialized from the kitchen door, his large frame blocking her path. "I think you should let your sister finish," he said quietly. "The best part," I continued, "is that Catherine Whitmore received copies of all this documentation yesterday. Her lawyers contacted Preston this morning. He is currently in the process of being served with divorce papers that will cost him approximately 60% of his net worth, which Forbes estimates at $240 million. I looked directly at Sarah. Your rent money just evaporated. Your fancy dinners are over. Your entire fake life just collapsed." My mother finally found her voice. "Sarah, tell me this is not true. Tell me she is making this up." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but they were not tears of remorse. They were tears of rage and humiliation. "You could not just let me have this," she hissed at me. "You could not let me be successful, be admired, be anything but the family disappointment. You were never successful," I said. "You were a liar. There is a difference." "Everyone lies," Sarah shrieked. "Everyone exaggerates about their jobs, their lives. I just did it better." "No," my Aunt Linda said, her voice cold. "Most people do not fabricate entire careers and let their families believe fantasy while their sister cooks and cleans and works herself to exhaustion without a single word of thanks." My mother sat frozen, her carefully constructed pride in Sarah crumbling visibly. "You let me," she whispered. "You let me brag about you to everyone. You let me make Emily feel small. How could you? How could I?" Sarah laughed bitterly. "You made it so easy. You always loved the idea of a successful daughter, more than you loved your actual daughters. I just gave you what you wanted." The room fell silent. My mother's face crumpled. "I am leaving." Sarah grabbed her designer handbag, which I knew contained nothing but more lies and probably Preston's credit card, which would be canceled by morning. "I do not need any of you." "Actually," I said, "there is one more thing." I pulled out my phone and opened the email I had drafted earlier. I sent a detailed report to Cascade Financial Services this afternoon, explaining that their temp worker has been impersonating a corporate executive and may have been using their office resources for personal fraud. They terminated your assignment effective immediately. I also contacted every staffing agency in Seattle with the same information. You are effectively unhireable. Sarah stared at me with pure hatred. "You destroyed my life." "No," I said. "I exposed your lies. You destroyed your own life when you built it on fraud and let our mother use me as a doormat to elevate your fake success." She fled the restaurant, her heels clicking rapidly on the tile floor. No one moved to stop her. The dinner dissolved after that. Some relatives left immediately, too shocked to process what they had witnessed. Others stayed, apologizing to me, asking questions, trying to understand how they had been fooled so completely. My mother sat at the table long after everyone else had gone, staring at her untouched dessert. I sat down across from her, exhausted but strangely calm. "I am sorry," she said finally, her voice barely audible, "for everything, for every comparison, every dismissal, every time I made you feel less than. I was so proud of who I thought Sarah was that I could not see who you actually are. I wanted to say it was okay, to comfort her, to make it easier. But Antonio's words echoed in my head about timing, about executing perfectly, about not apologizing for doing what needed to be done. You should be sorry," I said instead. I needed a mother who saw me, who valued me, who recognized that preparing a perfect Thanksgiving dinner for 20 people takes more skill and dedication than most corporate jobs require. Instead, I got someone who used me as a measuring stick to praise a fraud. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "How do I fix this?" "I do not know if you can," I said honestly. "But you could start by understanding that success is not measured by job titles or salaries. It is measured by integrity, by honest work, by showing up every single day and doing something real." The fallout was spectacular and swift. Catherine Whitmore's divorce attorney was one of the most vicious in Seattle, known for destroying philandering husbands in court. Within 3 weeks, Preston Whitmore had been stripped of his CEO position by an emergency board vote, his assets frozen pending divorce proceedings, and his name dragged through every Seattle newspaper and gossip blog. His company's stock dropped 18% in 2 days. Sarah's name appeared in multiple articles as the unnamed temp worker who destroyed a local business dynasty. Someone at Preston's company leaked her photo to the press. Her carefully curated Instagram, once filled with fake success, became a case study in social media deception that journalism students would probably analyze for years. She had to move back to our hometown, unable to afford Seattle without Preston's money. She moved into a studio apartment above a laundromat, the kind of place she had always looked down on when we were younger. Our mother helped her financially, guilt-driven support that I did not comment on, but silently noted. The temp agencies had indeed blacklisted her. She ended up working retail at Target, the ultimate irony given her fake Walmart executive career. I know because my cousin Jennifer saw her there and took a photo that made its way through the family group chat I had been added back to after being excluded for months. My mother started therapy. She called me twice a week, slowly, painfully trying to rebuild something that resembled a relationship. I did not make it easy. I answered her questions about my work honestly, describing the precision required for a perfect risotto, the timing needed for a delicate sauce, the creativity involved in developing a new menu. I never understood, she said during one call, how much skill goes into what you do. I thought cooking was just following recipes. Most people think that, I replied. Just like they thought Sarah's corporate speak actually meant something. In June, Antonio announced he was retiring. The owner of Marcello's offered me the chef de cuisine position, a $35,000 salary increase and full creative control of the menu. I accepted immediately. My first act as chef was to redesign the summer menu around local ingredients, building relationships with small farms and artisan producers. The restaurant's profile rose. Food critics who had never noticed us before suddenly appeared, writing reviews that praised the bold new direction and sophisticated simplicity of dishes I had been perfecting for years. One evening, 3 months after the dinner that destroyed Sarah's lies, my mother appeared at Marcello's. She had called ahead, reserving a table for 2. When I came out of the kitchen to greet her, I found her sitting with my father, who I had not seen in over a year. "Your mother told me what happened," Dad said gruffly. He had never been good with emotions, preferring to express love through actions rather than words. I wish I had been there. I would have figured out Sarah was lying long ago, would you? I asked skeptically. He had the grace to look ashamed. Probably not, but I should have paid more attention to both of you. My mother reached across the table and took my hand. "We are having a family dinner next month, just the 4 of us, small, quiet, honest. I want to try again, if you will let me." I looked at her carefully, searching for the woman who had spent Thanksgiving praising Sarah while I served food no one thanked me for. She looked older now, worn down by the truth, but also somehow more present, more real. "Okay," I said. "But I am cooking, and you are helping me prep. No more sitting at the table while someone else does all the work." She smiled, tears in her eyes. "Deal." Sarah sent me a single text message in August. "I hope you're happy. You got everything you wanted." I stared at it for a long time before responding. I did not get everything I wanted. I wanted a sister who was honest, a mother who saw me, and a family that valued integrity over image. "I exposed your lies because someone had to, not because I enjoyed destroying you. The fact that you see it as me getting what I wanted instead of you facing consequences for your choices shows you still do not understand what you did wrong." She never replied. In September, James Beard Foundation announced their semi-finalist nominations for Best Chef Northwest. My name was on the list, the only woman from Portland included. The notification email arrived while I was breaking down a whole salmon, my hands covered in scales, my apron stained with blood and fish oil. Antonio, who had stayed on as a consultant, found me crying in the walk-in cooler 20 minutes later. "Happy tears or sad tears?" he asked. "I do not know," I admitted. "Both, maybe. I keep thinking about Thanksgiving, about my mother saying I should be more like Sarah. And now Sarah is stocking shelves at Target while I am a James Beard semifinalist. You know what the difference is?" Antonio said. "You built something real. She built something fake. Real things last. Fake things always collapse eventually." The semi-finalist nomination did not lead to a win, but it brought attention. Portland Monthly ran a profile on me, titled "The Chef Who Was Always There." The article detailed my decade-long rise through Portland's restaurant scene, my dedication to craft over flash, my preference for perfect technique over trendy innovation. They interviewed my mother for the piece. Her quote made me cry. "I spent so many years looking at the wrong daughter's achievements. Emily was building mastery while I was applauding fantasy. I am just grateful I figured it out before it was too late to tell her how proud I am of the woman she has become through her own merit, not through lies or shortcuts." That Thanksgiving, We did have a small family dinner. Just my parents, me, and Tyler, the line cook I had started dating in October. We cooked together, all of us contributing something to the meal. My father made his famous cornbread stuffing. My mother attempted roasted vegetables under my supervision. Tyler brought wine from his family's vineyard in Willamette Valley. Sarah was not invited. She sent a bitter text to our mother about being excluded, but Mom held firm. "You are welcome when you are ready to be honest and make real amends," she wrote back. "But I will not watch you hurt your sister again." As we sat down to eat, my phone buzzed with an Instagram notification. Sarah had posted a photo of herself eating a frozen turkey dinner alone in her studio apartment, captioned, "Sometimes you lose everything and realize what actually mattered. Happy Thanksgiving to those who deserve it." I showed it to my mother. She closed her eyes briefly, pain flickering across her face. "Should I reach out to her?" "That is your decision," I said. "But do not let guilt make you enable her victim narrative. She is alone because of choices she made, lies she told, and people she hurt. Those are consequences, not persecution." My mother nodded slowly, putting her phone away. We held hands around the table, and for the first time in my adult life, my mother's grace before the meal included specific gratitude for me, for Emily, whose skill and dedication created this beautiful meal, and whose integrity showed us all what real success looks like. The turkey was perfect. The sides were balanced, the wine was excellent. And when I looked around the table at my small, honest family, I realized I had gotten exactly what I wanted after all. Recognition earned through real work, relationships built on truth, and the satisfaction of knowing that every achievement on my resume was something I had actually done, not something I had invented and performed. 18 months after the Thanksgiving that started everything, I stood in the kitchen of my new restaurant, the one I had opened with investment from 3 local backers who believed in my vision. The space was small, only 42 seats, but it was mine. Every plate, every flavor profile, every detail reflected choices I had made based on skill I had earned. We had been open for 6 weeks. Every night was fully booked. My mother came to the soft opening, bringing my father and a group of their friends. She sat at the chef's table, the counter overlooking the open kitchen, and watched me work with an expression I had never seen before. Genuine pride based on real understanding. Sarah was not there. She was still in our hometown, still working retail, still posting occasional bitter social media updates about fake friends and family betrayal. She had never apologized, never acknowledged that her lies had been the problem. In her narrative, she was the victim of my jealousy and cruelty. I did not care. Let her believe whatever fiction helped her sleep at night. The truth was documented, public, and permanent. "Order up," I called, sliding 3 perfectly plated dishes across the pass. My sous chef, Maya, delivered them to the dining room while I started the next course. The rhythm of service was meditation, muscle memory, and creativity combining into something that felt like flying. During a brief lull, I checked my phone and found a message from Antonio. Saw the review in the Times. 4 stars. "I taught you well, but you surpassed me. Proud does not begin to cover it." The New York Times review had published that morning. 4 stars. The critic wrote, "Chef Carter's cuisine is defined by precision and honesty. Every element on the plate serves a purpose. Nothing is decoration or distraction. Nothing is there for show. This is food made by someone who respects craft over performance, substance over image." In an era of Instagram-driven dining and celebrity chef spectacle, Carter's restaurant is a refreshing reminder that the best food comes from mastery earned through years of unglamorous work. My phone buzzed again. Sarah. I almost did not open it, but curiosity won. I saw the review. Congrats, I guess. You got what you wanted. You destroyed me and built yourself up. Hope it was worth it. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed, "I did not destroy you, Sarah. You destroyed yourself. I just refuse to let you keep doing it at my expense." And yes, it was absolutely worth it. Every single consequence you are facing is something you earned through your own choices. I built a career on skill. You built one on lies. The results speak for themselves. I blocked her number after sending it. There was nothing left to say. That night, after service ended and the last customer left, my staff gathered for family meal. We sat around the prep counter, eating the experimental dishes I had been developing, talking about the evening, planning for tomorrow. This was my family now. People who showed up, who did real work, who understood that excellence required honesty. My mother texted, "The meal was extraordinary. Your father cried during dessert, though he'll deny it. We're so proud of you, Emily." Not for the reviews or awards, but for who you are and how you got here. I smiled and put my phone away, joining the conversation around me. Someone made a joke about my perfectionism with plating. Someone else imitated a demanding customer. We laughed together, tired but satisfied, united by shared purpose and genuine respect. 2 months later, the James Beard Foundation announced their final nominations. My name appeared again, this time for Best New Restaurant. The ceremony would be in Chicago in June. Sarah posted on Facebook the same day. Some people cheat and lie their way to success, destroying anyone in their path. Real integrity means lifting others up, not tearing them down. Karma is real. Several family members commented, defending me, explaining that exposing fraud was not tearing someone down, but holding them accountable. Sarah deleted the post within an hour. I flew to Chicago for the award ceremony with my parents, Tyler and Maya. We did not win, but standing in that room full of the country's best chefs, representing my own restaurant and my own vision, felt like victory enough. On the flight home, my mother squeezed my hand. Do you regret it? What you did to Sarah? I thought about it honestly. No. She made her choices. She lied to everyone, used you to humiliate me, and would have kept going indefinitely if I had not stopped her. She is experiencing consequences, not persecution. Those are different things. What if she never recovers? Mom asked quietly. What if this is her life now? Permanently. Then she will have learned an expensive lesson about the cost of fraud? I said. But honestly, Mom, that is not my responsibility. I gave her every opportunity to be honest. She chose performance over truth at every turn. I am not obligated to protect her from the results of her own decisions. My mother nodded slowly. You are right. I just wish it had not come to this. It came to this because Sarah brought it here, I replied. Not me. 6 months later, my restaurant earned its first Michelin star. The inspector's notes praised the integrity of vision and execution that defines truly exceptional cuisine. I framed them and hung them in the kitchen, a reminder that honesty and skill always outlast performance and fraud. Sarah was not at the celebration. She had moved to a different city, pursuing what our mother cautiously described as a new opportunity. I did not ask for details. Her life was no longer my concern. What mattered was this: my kitchen, my team, my vision, built on a foundation of real work and earned respect. Every dish that left my past was something I knew how to make, because I had spent years learning, practicing, failing, and improving. No lies, no shortcuts, no fake credentials. Just skill, dedication, and the cold satisfaction of knowing that while Sarah was starting over from nothing, I was exactly where I deserved to be, having earned every single step of the journey. The last time I saw her was at a family wedding 2 years after that devastating dinner at Marcello's. She arrived late, left early, and avoided speaking to me entirely. She looked older, harder, diminished somehow. Not physically, but in spirit, as though the weight of maintaining her lies had been the only thing keeping her upright, and without them, she had simply deflated. I felt nothing watching her leave. Not satisfaction, not pity, not anger, just the cool indifference of someone who had closed a chapter and moved forward into better stories. That is the thing about real success versus fake success. Real success does not require anyone else's failure to exist. It stands on its own merit, supported by actual achievement rather than comparative performance. I would have been an excellent chef regardless of whether Sarah was a Walmart executive or a retail worker or anything in between. The difference was that I built something real while she built something fake. And when the truth emerged, only one of us had anything left standing. And I was the one still cooking.